CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan 140 Transitional Partners. Those involved in implementing the decisions associated with this integrated plan will operate as transitional partners in the new organization that will be in the process of being created. Transitional partners will operate in a way that is a modified and simplified version of the way that partners are ultimately planned to operate. In particular, transitional partners will, small bullet, go through a transitional onboarding process. Small bullet, make decisions using the modified advice process, except where the implementation council decides that a different decision-making process is to be used. Small bullet, use feedback processes in the spirit of the feedback processes planned for partners. Small bullet, use restorative processes in the spirit of the restorative processes planned for partners. Implementation Council/Transitional Global Council. The group that is called the Implementation Council, IMC, in the context of the new future process, may, in the context of the new organization, be called the Transitional Global Council, TGC. Either name may be used. The members of the INC/TGC will be the first transitional partners. The INC/TGC is responsible for seeing that the new organization, NVCO, and community, NVC0 community, come into being. The core of the integrated plan is implemented, and the organization is set on a trajectory toward implementing the remainder of the plan in a manner suitably informed by future conditions. In keeping with this responsibility, the INC/TGC has the ultimate authority to decide how these goals will be accomplished. While this integrated plan lays out a blueprint for how things are planned to work, it was recognized even in the original design of the new future process that there will be a need for flexibility during implementation. When people learn more about what will work in practice, it will be up to the members of the INC/TGC and other transitional partners to collectively discern the ways in which it will make sense to precisely follow the recipes in the integrated plan, and the ways in which it may make sense to make adjustments. The INC/TGC will have a big job to attend to. We anticipate that they will want to recruit additional transitional partners to support this work happening. The INC/TGC may choose to increase its size, and additional transitional partners can also be recruited to populate transitional weaves or task forces charged with addressing particular implementation areas. 141 partners. After the transition, the full onboarding process planned for becoming a partner will likely involve some infrastructure that won't be available at the time that people are becoming transitional partners. Once it is possible to support some version of the regular onboarding process, transitional partners may choose to go through the regular onboarding process to become partners. For a period of time, the organization will include a mix of both transitional partners and partners who have gone through the regular onboarding, and both will function as partners. At some point in time, to be determined by the INC/TGC or the Global Council that succeeds it, transitional partners will no longer be able to act as partners in the new organization. This strategy of requiring transitional partners to go through the regular onboarding process to become partners is intended to serve the following purposes. Small bullet ensures that everyone has a similar quality of preparation for serving as a partner. Small bullet reflects that things may be done differently during the implementation phase and during the actual operation of the new organization, and that things may be learned during the implementation phase. Small bullet supports testing and improvement of the regular onboarding process. Criteria for additional IMC/TGC members. The original criteria used in selecting initial IMC members included the following: suggested skills needed to be represented by the IMC as a whole. This list is here for self-assessment and those doing the nominating. Small bullet standing in community, social capital, small bullet systems thinking, for example, an awareness of restorative systems, feedback systems, etc. Small bullet tracking and admin skills. Small bullet big picture vision holding. Small bullet concrete implementation capacity. Small bullet awareness of issues of access skills needed to be represented by each member on the IMC. This list is here for self-assessment and those doing the nominating. Small bullet available for the duration of the timeline. TBD. Small bullet interest to small bullet collaboration/communication skills. Small bullet teal consciousness. Siri inventing organizations. By Frederick Laloux. Small bullet omnipartiality. The ability to hold, with care, multiple seemingly conflicting perspectives within the global NVC community. Small bullet non-attachment to strategy. Holding strategy lightly and with creativity. Small bullet experience with organization building. Small bullet personal support system in place. Small bullet post-conventional embodiment of NVC. Small bullet positivity. Small bullet have shown interest in the process up until now, evidenced by either being on the WG, actively engaging in the feedback process, been an observer on multiple occasions, etc. Some additional criteria that might apply to new members. Small bullet, are you willing and able to meet virtually at least once every 10 days for 90 minutes for the coming 6 months? Small bullet enthusiasm for the future of the new organization. Small bullet certified trainer, candidate certified trainer. Or have you made a conscious choice not to engage with the certification process? And have you integrated NVC and other collaborative skills in such a way that you trust your own ability to work creatively and openly with others? Also, people who you wouldn't invite to your birthday party, even when they may hold a different idea or longing than yourself. Small bullet knowledge of and involvement in the process up until now. Officially in an NFP working group or actively assisted an NFP working group, or able and willing to demonstrate involvement with the process up until now as having been an observer, note-taker, or willingness to catch up and immerse in the process up until now within 4 weeks in order to contribute effectively. It is suggested that the INC/TGC consider these criteria, and they are free to modify these criteria as makes sense to them. The INC/TGC can add up to 7 members in addition to the initial 5 elected by the Integration Council, and can replace a member should they lose someone for any reason. Selection of INC/TGC members is to be done through a sociocratic election process. Criteria for additional transitional partners. The INC/TGC may develop its own criteria for additional transitional partners who will participate in transitional weaves. Some ideas for potential criteria include 3 small bullet certified trainer, candidate certified trainer, or you have made a conscious choice not to engage with the certification process, and have you integrated NVC and other collaborative skills in such a way that you trust your own ability to work creatively and openly with others. Also, people who you wouldn't invite to your birthday party, even when they may hold a different idea or longing than yourself. Small bullet knowledge of and involvement in the process up until now. Officially in an NFP working group or actively assisted an NFP working group, or able and willing to demonstrate involvement with the process up until now as having been an observer, note-taker, or willingness to catch up and immerse in the process up until now in a specific focus area within 2 weeks in order to contribute effectively. Small bullet is willing and able to meet at a frequency that the transitional partner of the Global Council sees as being a minimum requirement for getting the job done within 4 months. Small bullet has read and fully understand the vision, purpose and mission of the NVC Zero community and supports it. Small bullet has read and fully understands the vision, purpose and mission of the NVC Zero and supports it. If the mix of people who end up being transitional partners does not end up reflecting the kind of access we want, feel sufficiently diverse, then the transitional partners are asked to commit to proactively seek advice from others who can complement their perspectives. Onboarding for transitional partners. Onboarding of new transitional partners is a joint responsibility between those who are inviting people to be transitional partners and those who are coming into this role. The task is fundamentally one of 1. Education and 2. Confirmation of alignment. This document can suggest but cannot completely delineate what understandings will be needed. Ultimately, this determination will be up to the inviters and the new transitional partners. Some questions to ask during onboarding. Small bullet, have you read, fully understand and do you support the shared vision of NVC Zero and the NVC Zero community? Small bullet, have you read, Fully understand and do you support the purpose and mission of the NVC community? Small bullet. Have you read, fully understand and do you support the purpose, mission, and values of NVCO? Small bullet. Have you read, understood and are you able to agree to the operational agreements and systems, feedback and conflict transformation as laid out in the integrated plan? Have you read and do you understand the parts of the integrated plan that are likely to be relevant to your role as a transitional partner? Is the person who has invited you to be a transitional partner in agreement about which parts you think are relevant? 144 Financial management during implementation. Until another formal strategy is put in place for financial and legal management, the IMC/TGC will have full authority with regard to managing the finances of NVC0 and authorizing contracts, including authorizing funds to be used to support people to work on behalf of NVC0 or contracting to have work be done using NVC0 funds. IMC/TGC members will be among those eligible to be considered to receive funds to support their ability to work on behalf of NVCO. The IMC/TGC will develop a policy to ensure that any such funding is free from conflicts of interest and is within the bounds of acceptable legal practices. 5C NVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan 145 Tentative Implementation Schedule. Small bullet. Integrated Plan ratified/implementation phase begins September 10th. October 6, 2016. Small bullet. IMC/TGC begins likely October 6, 2016, December 2016. O takes over stewarding New Future Process. O clarifies its mandate. O decides on the processes it will use to do its work. O clarifies fundraising aims/goals to communicate to the broader community and to set the foundation for future fundraising campaigns. O decides on a plan for achieving its task. O initiates urgent/long lead time tasks, for example, virtual home design, financial design, legal design. O potentially expands IMC/TGC membership, onboards new members. O decides what it will focus on and what it will delegate. Order of tasks. O develops a plan for how to communicate the ongoing process with the greater NVC community to ensure that we maintain connections and buy-in. Small bullet. Transitional Weaves, January 2017, August 2017. O begins to clarify legal and technical infrastructure. IMC/TGC develops a process for selecting leaders. O launched likely many additional transitional weaves, beyond those for urgent tasks, will be launched. O members get onboarded as transitional partners. IMC members onboarded by transitional partners. O work in parallel on their various tasks. O pilot weaves serve as experiments and begin the sort of work ongoing weaves will perform. Pilot continental/country weaves need to be set up to support the launch event planned in 2018. 1O begins fundraising for the new organization. O internal leader and global council holder are selected. Small bullet. Launch NVC0 community September 2017, March 2018. O sufficient legal and technical infrastructure is in place, including essential features of virtual home. O people are invited to join NVC0 community. O transitional onboarding process continues as transitional weaves continue to be created. O one or more rituals of celebration and marking the transition into NVC0 community. Small bullet. Launch NVC0 March 2018 Dec 2018. O November 2018. Global Launch Convention. Small bullet. Regular onboarding process begins January 2019. The Future O Non-Transitional Global Council is established. Work of IMC/TGC is completed. 147 CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Ideas for Launch of NVC0. We recommend that NVC0 is launched in phases as described in the tentative implementation schedule. The ideas and suggestions in this document concern an event that would occur after the launch of NVC0 community, and that will be a significant marker in the development of NVCO. NVC0 would still be populated by transitional partners when this event happens. The event described is similar to the global conventions described in the integrated plan, and this event will be the kick-off event for the cycle envisaged for the global conventions. It is a moment when NVC0 fully presents itself to the community and the community fully engages with NVCO. Small bullet: this event combines a live gathering, preferably in the global south, with a virtual gathering that occurs at the same time. We recommend that audiovisual transmissions be organized by a professional company with specific expertise in this area to maximize the chance that virtual participation is both useful and effective. Small bullet: the needs we are hoping to meet with the global launch convention strategy are celebration, community, learning, understanding, inspiration, connection, growth, grounding, knowledge, sustainability, buy-in. Small bullet: we imagine that virtual sessions will be scheduled in different languages and at times that are relevant for those language areas. That there will be one summary session a day in each of the available languages in which people can check in with what has happened at the live gathering and ask questions or add input. And that virtual sessions are also organized in different languages and times that reflect specific session topics at the live gathering. Small bullet: minimum requirements for this event to happen are, there are some community interface weebs operating at various levels and in a variety of languages so that participants know where to go to for follow-up, and so that participants can be supported in their own language during and after the event, and written and visual materials about NVC0 are made and translated into as many languages as possible where we know NVC is practiced. Small bullet: we envisage an 8-day event with roughly the following percentage of content. 25% of the sessions are for transitional partners with other participants being welcome as observers. These sessions are scheduled beforehand. 50% of the sessions are geared to sharing aspects of what NVC0 is at launch, and applicable processes and skill sets *. These sessions are also scheduled beforehand. 25% of the sessions are pop-ups that arise in the moment and are initiated by any participant. 148 Small bullet *. We envisage sessions modeling the flow we envisage for NVCO. This means with energy flowing from the transitional organization to the community and from the community back into the organization. Sessions might include describing and collecting data over what a weave is and how to set one up. What onboarding entails, what this might look like in different areas in the world, and how to get it up and running. Sharing and practicing with conflict resolution methods, decision-making processes, feedback systems, etc. Please note, we will not be doing any onboarding during this event. Small bullet: this intention of flow back and forth, of interdependence between community and NVC0 is clearly held and articulated in all communications to support people in understanding, experiencing and embracing the new paradigm that NVC0 embraces. Small bullet: it is also important to create as much clarity as possible about the purpose and nature of the event, and to give clear information on next steps that might be taken for participants who are enthusiastic to join NVC0 as the first full partners. Small bullet: we want to consider how to reach people who are unable or unwilling to travel to the in-person event and don't have internet access for the virtual event. Possible strategies might be to create presentations on USB sticks that could be sent out after the event. To produce a comic book covering the primary topics covered. To create a hard copy newspaper or some other hard copy item that could be sent by post after the event. Resources: Small bullet: the Global Launch Convention Weave will create a budget for the event itself. Small bullet: a crowdfunding system will be set up by the Global Launch Convention Weave (GLCW) to create the GLC Common Fund. This is in alignment with the principles of willingness and where there is energy something will happen. Small bullet: community interface weaves in different parts of the world will be encouraged to investigate ways of getting funding for the GLC, for example via the EU and Europe. Small bullet: NVC0 might request CNVC to support one particular piece of the budget, for example audiovisual digital support and filming. Small bullet: all budgets and transactions will be transparent and posted on the virtual home. Small bullet. The launch convention is not geared to making profit. If there is a residue of funds after the event, they will be reserved for the next global convention. It is operated on a costs covered basis with the 10% contingency fund for unforeseen circumstances. We encourage participants, both partners and community members, to finance their own travel costs and the costs of their stay. People who are unable to do so would apply to the Common Fund for support. 2. 149 Small bullet. This is not a training event. There are no trainers, so it is not necessary to create a reserve to pay for people to contribute training. No one is paid to be at the event. Some may be supported to be able to attend. Small bullet. Organizing this event will take a lot of resources, not only financially but also in time and energy and passion. The GLC may decide to support those organizing the event in many ways, one of which may be financial. The GLO will decide for themselves how to organize this following closely the underlying principles of the organization. See Resources Doc. Small bullet access. The GLCW will work closely with the Transitional Access Focus Holder and hopefully with Access Focus Holders on Transitional Community Interface weaves across the world to ensure access for as many people as possible. 3. 150 CNVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Effectiveness in Groups Recommendations. The content of this text will be made available to weaves within the organization and in the community, in case they find the ideas helpful to them. For the effectiveness of the worldwide NVC organization, NVCO, and every group in it, we would like to encourage everyone to, small bullet, be connected to the purpose, why, of the NVCO, and the clarity of mission, what, and vision, intended outcomes, of your group. For this we suggest the following strategies. 1. Review the purpose of the worldwide NVCO on a regular basis. Each group decides itself when and how often as a source of inspiration. 2. Each group writes its own meaningful vision and mission, show it purpose that inspires contribution and rereads them at a frequency agreed upon. The mission is dynamic and the mission statement is revised as the mission itself naturally evolves. Small bullet. Ensure connection within the group. For this we suggest the following strategies. 1. Start with self-connection, for example a minute of silence, self-empathy, ask inwardly, why am I doing this? 2. Have a brief check-in with each other to support connection. 3. Before the meeting, and during as needed, revisit the purpose of the worldwide NVC organization and your group's mission and vision. 4. When connection is lost, name this and address it. See bullet point advice conflict below. Small bullet. 10 to clarity of action to fulfill the intended outcomes. G1-1. For this we suggest the following strategies. 151. 1. When there is attachment to strategies, take time to acknowledge there is no such thing as a perfect strategy. Try it and learn what is next. 2. Take time to plan and create efficient strategies to save time in execution. If a strategy is used more than twice, include a template in a procedure manual and group it with related tasks. B. Clarify and plan for resources needed. Work within capacity available to do the work. 3. Create automated systems for efficiency and define them with clarity. For example, when using schedulers, for example Doodle, provide a clear deadline for everyone to fill in dates and make the time as short as possible for responses. We suggest 3 days to prevent keeping dates locked too long. 4. For specific action plans, clarify the observations and needs addressed. B. Begin with the end in mind. C. Find and agree on concrete and specific outcomes. D. Develop concrete and specific next steps. I. Break down a plan into specific doable tasks. 2. Create tight timeframes as a motivator for when a task will be done and adapt the time as needed. 3. Set a time for revisiting, re-evaluating effectiveness and outcomes, and developing next steps, if any, including documenting and sharing as needed for coordination. Small bullet create and model a culture of collaboration and the humility we want to see in the world. For this we suggest the following strategies. 1. Remember, personal relationships are primary and general well-being trumps personal interest. No one can do it alone. 2. Seek advice from people affected and others with expertise. 3. Create ease and availability for conferring and getting advice. A. Use systems such as website, LinkedIn, Google and Yahoo Groups, our own virtual home. B. Create procedures for translation. 4. Be open to sharing a wide range of rich human resources as needed. 5. Seek feedback and take it into account. A. Celebration and mourning. B. Schedule feedback. 6. Cultivate awareness of, and change in, power dynamics, as well as attachment to strategies sometimes perceived as needs, like money. 7. Acknowledge that everyone is empowered to contribute to the shared mission. Everyone leads with their expertise and experience. Find people's superpowers and match each other with that. Ask, what are you fantastic at? 8. Led to inspire and motivate rather than direct or control others. 9. Work by consent. See also structure and governance on decision-making. A. For projects and decisions that affect the whole, consult with others before moving forward. G1-2B. Notify everyone and have a minimum number of people agreed upon in order to move to consent. C. Withdrawing consent. If a member who is not present is a paramount objection to a previous agreement, it is revisited to create a new agreement. Small bullet contribute with joy for the well-being of all. For this we suggest the following strategies. 1. Nurture the juice, aliveness and enjoyment of working together. Ensure that the time we spend on the work is deeply connected to our values, not just to the outcomes. 2. Enable everyone to shine with their skills and enthusiasm. 3. Humor can reconnect us to a lightness of heart to support connection when there is mental fatigue or frustration. One example from the Values Alignment WG that created this part of the plan: the Americans and the British are allies divided by a common language. Humor can support strategies for living effectively, but we recommend you take care if there is a need for empathy or the humor is heard as a judgment. 4. Nurture and support self-care for all. 5. Celebrate achievements small and large as they happen. Small bullet adds conflict. For this we suggest the following strategies. 1. Members commit to connect to resolve conflict. 2. Acknowledge conflict as feedback and identify the unmet needs. 3. Employ empathy, mediation and restorative processes. 4. Install a group of mediation experts who could be called upon at times of conflict when dialogue has not yet built connection. 5. When areas of conflict in the world have been identified in healthcare, education, justice system, the economy, families, international aid programs etc., call out to the NVC community to support reconciliation. Small bullet creates self-organizing, dynamic, living organizations. For this we suggest the following strategies. 1. Structure follows purpose. The structure of the organization is adapted to serve the evolving purpose and any needs that may arise. Form follows need and structures appear and disappear. 2. Create roles as needed, rather than job titles and descriptions, and identify what qualities in a person would best serve the role/function. G1-3. 153 roles are determined by who steps up or by a cooperative process such as a sociocratic selection. All participants are strongly encouraged to nominate persons to be elected. Tallies are made. People are asked to share why they nominated specific persons, with or without reference to the qualities identified that would support the role. Look for enthusiasm, strengths and existing capabilities. The candidate is asked last. People end up appreciating each other's unique contributions. People change their votes based on this sharing. This process continues until consent is achieved, and the facilitator can choose any of the ones most voted for and ask for objections. Objections are generally based on the qualities that have been outlined. 4. Acknowledge autonomy. Make space for people to follow their ideas and enthusiasm in alignment with our shared purpose and values. Allow people the freedom to seize opportunities and make decisions with advice from all those affected and those with expertise. 5. Support the empowerment of each part of the whole. 6. Meetings are called for only on a needs basis. 7. Agree upon the extent of authority, for example spending limits, scope of decision-making, etc. 8. Identify the skill and capacity to do a role and seek support to develop more expertise when things are hard. 9. Mentor and apprentice others. 10. Track objectives and the steps to achieve them. Maintain trust and make every process transparent, for example using Kanban or similar method. 11. Share leadership and accountability for objectives. Every role taken is a commitment with peers. 12. When objectives are not attained, explore what life is bidding us to do next. 13. The group supports those who are not meeting objectives by finding the reasons and addressing whatever is getting in the way. Small bullet raise awareness of NVC, making it more visible and a go-to place by 1. Making NVC more known worldwide and applicable to all ages, cultures, roles and social structures, including families, businesses, etc. 2. Setting up an Empathy Day with events, assemblies, visibility, for example use virtual media. 3. Creating a culture of gratitude to those who are peacemakers. Sharing NVC with others. 4. Setting up resource spaces of support open to all, so as to bring about changes of paradigm, whatever the country. 5. Supporting micro-communities, fraternities, to increase project visibility and integration. 6. Being present in media. 7. Including pointers on language-specific websites, for example flags for websites in other languages. G1-4. 8. Having regular meetings online and or face-to-face to build a circle of support and connection, and providing updates on activities and the status of the NVC community in each country, making full use of IT technologies. 9. Observing what others are doing in peace work. Watching the world and innovating in ways that bring peace and positive change by pooling ideas. 10. Organizing dialogues and establishing collaboration with influential people such as the Dalai Lama. 11. Take note of what is happening in the world and choose whether to respond. 12. Using words as they are commonly used when speaking with the general public, so as to bring shared understanding. Small bullet contribute to a database of research in the organization that pools all research relevant to NVC by 1. Disclosing data that is credible and shows successful examples of introducing and applying NVC. 2. Documenting and sharing clinical data with both quantitative and qualitative data as available. Include what problems were addressed by which organization and in which country. Small bullets share educational materials and resources globally by 1. Creating a global document maintenance team. 2. Gathering materials, programs and resources globally and locally and customizing them to address local needs such as language, topics, etc. 3. Maintaining and making materials available to members. G1-5 155 NVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Living Guidebook for NVC Communities. An outline. This section offers an outline for the Living Guidebook for NVC Communities called for in the Community Plan. The Integration Council is passing this along with other items in this section of the plan to the Implementation Council to support the creation of a robust guidebook for forming weaves, which we assume will contain much more information. 1. Community building. Sharing values, interests, passions to build resonance, warmth, energy. Collect and include any and all processes, games, exercises and storytelling circles that support community building. Examples: warm-up games, collaborative games, connection circles / getting acquainted circles, etc. An example of a value-building circle can be found in Kay Prani's and Carolyn Watson's Circle Forward book, Community Identified Values, Boys Watson, Carolyn. Pranis, K. 2015-2-22. Circle forward. Building a restorative school community. Kindle locations 932-933. Living Justice Press. 2. Community Building 2. Supporting belonging and equal mattering. Collect and include any and all processes on supporting a sense of global and local belonging, with special tracking of the recommendations/decisions by the Accessibility Working Group to support accessibility, diversity awareness, how to overcome language barriers, outreach, awareness and transparency at different ease and access. 3. Community Building 3. Building trust, safety through agreements. Collect and include any and all processes on supporting building trust and safety, an invitation to co-create one's own guidelines and shared agreements based on values. Include supporting documents and practices on how to make and break agreements with care. Invite intentional communities to add practices they found helpful. G2-1 156. The process from K. Pranis and Carolyn Watson. Circle forward book as an example. C. Generating guidelines. Boys Watson, Carolyn. Pranis, K. 2015-2-22. Circle forward. Building a restorative school community. Kindle locations 1012-1015. Living Justice Press. 4. Community Living/Thriving. Collect and include examples for activities that keep a community going once it is built, to deepen connections, to remember the value of community and abundance sharing. This can include individual practices like Mickey Kashtan's core commitments, especially those on interacting with others. 11-14 http://thefearlessheart.org/resources/core-commitments/ Include here also practices of collaborative decision-making, sociocracy, holacracy, Lalou's approach, open space technology, etc. and processes for listening into the field of the group energy. Kaylee Bryson's Fred, Sigforum process, theory use listening to the emerging future, etc. It can also include storytelling or continued explorations of any supportive practices and modalities which support and/or expand living NVC principles. Mindfulness, Feldenkrais, Qigong, yoga, aikido, surfing, emotion-based embodiment/dance, contact/improv, permaculture, etc. 5. Community repair through/after conflict or harm. Collect and include practices as recommendations on how to repair/reweave relationships, including not exhaustive list, self-care, authentic boundaries setting practices, mediation, conflict resolution skills, conflict transformation, Marshall's approach to restorative justice, restorative circles, peacemaking circle process, K. Pranis, and any restorative approach to conflict that focuses on shifting blame, keeping inclusion possible/invitation for all to participate, eliminate any role of judge, victim, offender, and support self-responsibility, empathic impact/affect, heart motivation and opportunities for healing, and repairs to the relationships and any other potential repair, including a welcoming into the circle/community. G2-2C NVC New Future Process, Integrated Plan Process Decisions 157. Below is a compilation of decisions about process and ways of operating that the Integration Council used in our deliberations. Although these are specific to the work of integration, and although not all of them were ever followed completely, we believe they can be organized and adapted to other kinds of decision-making that any weave might engage in at some point. For this reason, we are including them here collated from different documents and unchanged, except where updated terms are noted. In parentheses. Eventually, they may be developed into a menu of options for how weaves can work together. Decision-making, adopted December 12, 2015. How we know when a decision has been made. Our core intention is to make decisions that work for everybody present. Work is recognized as being context-sensitive. In practice, this will be assessed by the facilitator offering language that sets a threshold for agreement/disagreement, and if everyone agrees and nobody objects to the threshold choice, The facilitator notes agreement. There is a 30-second pause, and then the facilitator notes that a decision has been made. Supportive process intentions. Small bullet. When as a group we are unable to reach an agreement, we are committed to creating in real time a next forward step. Small bullet. We will have someone take on the role of paying attention to the group energy, who can at any moment ask for a pause, for example, 30 seconds of silence. Small bullet. Decisions are made by the people who are present at a meeting. When someone absent is known to be inactive or have needed expertise relevant to a decision, we may choose to defer making the decision. Small bullet. If someone wants to reopen dialogue about a decision, they first engage with another INC member offline, and bring to the group only if it is not resolved. If it's really time sensitive and pressing, there is willingness for them to bring it to the INC meeting. Small bullet. Decisions made beyond the scheduled time of a meeting, and if some members have left, will not be binding until decided via email or at another meeting. G3-1 Integration and Inclusion, agreed to by INC, December 18, 2015. 158. This proposal is meant to address the following considerations, among others. 1. We, the Integration Council, want to create an inclusive organization that works for and includes a wide variety of people who are interested in NVC. As inclusion is a core value of ours, we want to make inclusion fundamental to how we begin this new organization. B. We want a broad community to have a sense of ownership of and support for the new organization as it comes into being. C. We acknowledge that those of us who have been active in the WGS and INC are mostly North Americans, with some Europeans and a few people from Asia, Africa, and South America, and that discussions have been in English. This is the we thus far, who are holding a vision of a more inclusive future. We need support and partnership from a broader community in order for this inclusive future to have a significant likelihood of materializing. 2. In particular, we would like to include, people who value NVC but who have in the past been marginalized, by Western English-speaking society in general, or by the larger NVC network in particular, because of the smaller size of their local NVC subnetwork, lesser access to resources, geography, language, culture, race, or other factors. B. People who are active in the larger non-English-speaking NVC subnetworks. C. People who are active in the English-speaking NVC subnetwork. 3. We are naming these groups explicitly, because choosing different strategies to get in touch with people from the different groups is likely to impact our success in regards to inclusion. 4. We want to support trust that the NF process will produce tangible results, in the form of a clear, doable, life-serving plan followed by actual implementation of that plan. 5. We want to be practical, and acknowledge that we can't change the past and may have limited resources and energy going forward. At the same time, we aim for doing considerably better with regard to feedback and inclusion than we have managed thus far in relation to the work products of the working groups. 6. There seems to be a tension between the needs that argue for keeping moving to support trust in coming to something doable and the needs for inclusion. We would like to care for and balance both needs. At the same time, we want to acknowledge that marginalized groups have a frequent, ongoing experience of their needs being given a low priority. So, we are faced with the question of how to have balance and how to not reproduce this tragic pattern of inclusion-related needs not getting prioritized. G3-2 159 General Strategy 1. To support trust that we will have a doable plan which we could implement if we run out of energy for making additional changes, and to give people a concrete plan to react to, the INC will continue actively working on the integration process, reconciling the work of the different WGS, to produce a complete, coherent, integrated plan. 2. To support clarity about our intention, the INC agrees that one of the goals prior to the completion of our work is to have a significant sense of support and ownership for the integrated plan among each of the major groups of people identified for inclusion, that is, members of more marginalized NVC subnetworks, major non-English speaking NVC subnetworks, and those in the English-speaking NVC subnetwork. How we assess the success of attempts to create inclusion and a sense of ownership will not be based on a fixed predefined target. Instead, we will sense the level of meaningful interaction with the community and the sense of the process having been impacted, and 2. We will evaluate this relative to considerations of what energy and resources are available for continued outreach and integration of feedback, and the perceived costs and benefits of continuing to solicit dialogue versus moving into the implementation phase. B. A task force, see below, will collect information to support this assessment. The actual assessment/decision about how to proceed will be done by the Inc. 3. To include and involve the broad, international NVC community, the Inc. will charge a task force with initiating an ongoing multifaceted campaign to create dialogue about the plan as it exists at any given point in time and what the community wants. This Community Dialogue Task Force (CDTF) will be an advisory task force, meaning its function is to help the Inc. carry out its work, rather than to make fundamental decisions about the future of the organization on its own authority. B. The CDTF will develop and support the implementation of strategies for getting the word out about the integrated plan and getting feedback to the Inc. Strategies might include things like producing videos, holding discussion forums in various languages, engaging in personal networking, etc. C. The CDTF will develop ways to gather information about the level of support for and sense of ownership of the integrated plan among different groups, and will gather information about this. D. The Inc. will invite at least one person associated with each major topic area that appears in the integrated plan, that is, likely a person from each WG, to identify G3-3 160 themselves to the CDTF as being willing to participate in efforts to get the word out about the plan as it exists. E. The Inc. will identify people, ideally at the meeting when this proposal is adopted, who are empowered to populate the CDTF and get it started. 4. The Inc. plans on taking in community feedback and reflecting that feedback in visible ways, in order to improve the plan and build support and a sense of community ownership. Openness to change in response to feedback is essential for community dialogue to have meaning. B. We want the limits of those who are doing this work to be held with care. C. We want to offer clarity around what sort of feedback we are likely to have the capacity to incorporate via changes. What is most likely to be addressed would be serious flaws in the existing design and things that could be improved with relative ease. 5. While the schedule is subject to change, an initial timeline for this work is as follows. December 18th. CDTF authorized, and attempts to complete populating it begin immediately. B. By January 1st, CDTF will have constructed a plan for a substantial number of efforts to connect with people in various NVC subnetworks, and will have put out any needed calls for help to implement these strategies. C. By January 7 the first outreach efforts will have been initiated. D. By January 14th, Inc. will have integrated the plans of the core infrastructure, WGS number 1, 2, 3, 4,11, so that this work can be the basis of dialogue with the NVC community. Major translation efforts will be initiated. E. By January 31st, Inc. will have integrated the plans of the special functions, now called special applications, WGS number 5, 6, 8, 9, so that these portions of the integrated plan can be the basis of dialogue with the NVC community. Translation efforts will be initiated. F. February, the CDTF will conduct an intense campaign to hold dialogues with the NVC community about the core infrastructure part of the integrated plan. The Inc. will be participating in the dialogue process as possible, and discussing how to form an implementation council. G. March, the Inc. will integrate input regarding the core infrastructure (CL). At the end of this period, the Inc. will assess where it is with regard to support/ownership goals with respect to the CL, and how it would like to proceed. During this month, The CDTF G3-4-161 will be conducting dialogues regarding the Special Functions, or SF, now called Special Applications, portion of the Integrated Plan, April. The INC will integrate input regarding the SF. At the end of this period, the INC will assess where it is with regard to support/ownership goals with respect to the SF, and how it would like to proceed. 6. The text of this proposal, once approved, will be shared with the new future Google group, and possibly elsewhere. Addressing concerns and maintaining overall progress agreed on December 27, 2015 and December 29, 2015 INC meetings. December 27, 2015, agreed to in general terms by INC, with it noted that there may be a threshold of significance beyond which it may not make sense to move forward in parallel. We will try to get through whole pieces of the integrated plan to surface all the concerns, rather than waiting for any given concern to be addressed. Concerns will be engaged by those who have the liveness to do so, with an intention of crafting a proposal for improving the overall plan to present to the INC as a whole. If there are insufficient energy/insight to find an improved plan, some concerns might not get addressed, though we will record them somewhere for possible revisiting. As much as possible, the INC will continue its work rather than waiting for the resolution of a particular concern. Sometimes, what a subgroup is talking about may be likely to impact value of the INC's trying to work in parallel on other integration work. To address this consideration, our general strategy will be to 1. Keep working on what we can work on, rather than pausing work altogether. 2. Ensuring that as we work, someone has a role of raising awareness if we come to a point when things under discussion by a subgroup are likely to directly impact something else we are considering looking at. This person might be someone who is in the subgroup in question, or someone who is temporarily taking on the role of holding awareness about what that subgroup is working on. 3. The intention is to point to particular places in the integration work where there might be significant impact from the subgroup work, rather than broadly stopping work on a larger piece simply because some sub-piece might be affected by the subgroup work. 4. When we come to a point where a subgroup work is likely to impact a particular piece of our integration work, we will skip over that point and note it as something to be returned to later, when the outcome of the subgroup work is clearer. G3-5 Addendum to Proposed Process Agreements agreed on December 29, 2015 INC Meeting 162. The following proposal is aimed to support connection and efficiency when discussing charged topics. 1. Before taking on a new topic, and especially a potentially charged topic, from an offline group to the agenda, the facilitator verifies that potential objectors were included in developing it. If not, it gets sent back to the offline group to review with objectors and modify as needed before bringing back to the Integration Council. 2. Before a discussion begins, the facilitator checks with the group the prediction about whether or not the discussion is likely to hold charge. If yes, the facilitator puts the following in place: A. Length of time for the discussion. B. Any specific guidelines for the discussion, such as a round of clarifying questions followed by a round of expressing issues, or deciding there are no guidelines and an open discussion follows, or anything else. C. Criteria for what would still be invited after the allotted time ends, such as only additional clarifying questions, or only input for an offline group to continue, etc. D. The facilitator reminds people that he will interrupt anyone who adds content that appears to be outside the agreed-upon criteria for when time ends, asking them to connect what they're saying to the agreed-upon guidelines or to table it. The facilitator will assess how comfortable he is with interrupting, and ask someone to hold this piece if not comfortable. 3. When the allotted time ends, the facilitator stops the conversation as soon as the person who is speaking at that time is done. At the time, the following actions take place. A. The criteria for continued discussion are applied rather than decided at that time, when the charged discussion is already happening. B. An offline structure for further discussion is set up. I. People are chosen, aiming to include a range of positions in the offline group, especially those who may object to something others would likely agree to. 2. Any further input is either given to the offline group or a method for giving it later is established, the latter preferred. 3. A desired outcome is agreed upon for the offline group, such as a proposal or decision, or recommended next steps to the integration council as a whole. 4. A timeline is agreed upon for completing the task and bringing the results to the integration